is trying to get some more material for this book, and shot some new stuff for it as well as these, and this is what's got me on fire lately.
Okay, so tell me a little about the image.
So like we discussed a little bit last time, but we'll just go back through it. I'm doing phase 2 of my Beautiful Struggle project. So phase 1 is I've been shooting all these plants growing in difficult situations that I find beautiful and inspiring. And now I'm pairing those up with people. So when I meet these people who I also admire in their own struggle, I ask them to go through my library and pick an image that they identify with, and then take their photograph with the image. So this particular couple, Ashley is a Navy veteran. She's also only got a year left of nursing school, but life's got her on the street. And the hardest thing about this whole situation was that Ashley did nothing really to deserve to be on the street. She's not an addict. She's, she hasn't got any of the common problems people associate with homeless people. And she says still people walk by and kick her and spit on her and judge her. And she's just this good person, this nursing student who wants to help people and served her country. And it just really broke my heart. As I sat there, I had my 10-year-old son with me, and we sat there and talked with her and Nate for, I don't know, maybe an hour there on the street that day, and just really enjoyed their company. And I couldn't believe, as the people walked by, the looks and the judgment and gestures and stuff that the people gave the 4 of us sitting there. And I thought, holy crap, humanity has really got some things backwards. And I think art might be the answer. I think if we start to try to make some of these installations and projects like that, I really believe that we can start to curb people's judgment, at least I hope. Anyway, so this is Ashley and Nate.
Okay. I love that you're doing this project. So this is the rough draft of the book outline, because you're putting all these together.
Yeah, so right now I'm playing with different type and different layout and things like that as we progress, but just to get the concept that these images will be book format with type. And we're playing with some minimalist type as well as some more in-depth type, and talking to some copy editors and things to see what the best path is going to be for this book. And right now, we're probably leaning towards the minimalist type that you'll see in some of these later images. We're also going to do away with the black field with white text. That bothered a lot of people, and we'll do a white field with black text.
Yes, that was going to be my first suggestion, so I agree.
And it gives it less of a fine art feel, more of a commercial feel, but it's okay, because the whole idea of the project is connect to people, and if the black is off-putting to people, then we ditch the black.
Well, let's scroll through and see the page layouts, and I'll give you some feedback on the on the project and book as a whole. Okay,
and this one I tried just as a text attachment below, and so it doesn't appear with her image here. But long story short, this is little Cambry. I've known her for about 6 years now. She just turned 9 years old. It's hard to get through this one without weeping, but I'll do my best. So Cambry, her dad has been in prison most of her life. He's a good man, just made some real bad choices with some drugs. Her mother is still a drug addict and in and out of flop houses and dealers' houses. And the whole point of her story is she's really been abandoned. She was also severely hearing impaired and wasn't getting any special help or treatment or anything. And this poor little angel child, and still she's always smiling and just a radiant thing. Now she's living with her grandma and has got hearing aids and getting some special schooling and such. But when I asked her to pick a photo, this is the one she picked. And it really kind of crushed me, because this photo is the perfect fit for her, and it's a horrible visual representation of humanity. This little sumac tree started out just a tiny little weed growing out of somebody's loading dock. There's asphalt, concrete, and a cinder block wall, and somebody ignored it long enough that it turned into a tree. And that's really Miss Cambry here. She was ignored long enough, and she became an angel anyway. So the iron fencing behind her is representative of her father being in prison, and she's all alone in the picture with this tree, representative of how she's really had to live her whole life. And and yet she's still got this bright smile, and she wears bright clothes, and she just exudes positivity despite having no reason to do so. I just love her to death.
Nice. Okay.
This one we shot just yesterday. This is Christy, and so now we're seeing some of the minimalist ideas. At age 17, she was diagnosed with fibrosis and cirrhosis of the liver. She's not an alcoholic or anything, just poor genetics. Autoimmune hepatitis is what's attacking her liver. Doctors don't know if she's going to live or die. She has good days and bad days, and she wants to be a model. I've been shooting with her, helping her build a portfolio for about a year now because she wanted to be a model, and I said, hey, whatever I can do to help, I'm all in. So we've been putting together some stuff for her over the year, and she's landed some jobs, and it's really fantastic to get to see her have her dream despite her difficulty. And same thing, she's just this happy, wonderful person every time you're around her. She doesn't talk about her illness or her diseases or her future being bleak. She's just happy.
Okay.
This is Diane, 4-time cancer survivor, twice thyroid, twice breast cancer, double mastectomy, thyroid's been removed, pacemaker, diabetes, lupus, hypertension. The medication she takes for her lupus is actually making her go blind. And still, she's the primary breadwinner for her family. She's got one special needs daughter still at home. And she picked this plant called a dillweed growing out of the salt flats out there at Bonneville. A totally harsh, lifeless environment, and this little bright green plant found a way anyway. And here she's pictured next to, you can see the herb pot behind her with dead herbs representative of her illnesses, and then the live flowers over on her right. She still loves to garden, but you can see the weeds are taking over now, and she just can't get down and do that anymore, but still wants her flowers. It's just another one of those stories that, gosh, people do hard things.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, this is a tough one too. This is John. He's a disabled Vietnam vet I've worked with for about 3 years now with photography. He picked this particular image, he said, because that tree's a loner and I'm a loner. And he's this tough, hardened guy. He's had lots of life struggles. His service-related injuries are killing him. The doctors say he may have as little as 3 weeks. We shot this last Thursday. He's got severe PTSD. Sounds and movement and stuff can really set him off into a really bad place. And despite all of that, he teaches photography and Photoshop to some of the local seniors for free, just trying to help pass on the things he's learned in his lifetime. And here he's pictured in front of some of his work. And if you walked up and asked John if you could have one of his pictures, he'd just hand it to you off the wall. He just, such a generous man despite all the crap that he's been through and still going through. And it's hard. He never ever talks about his family. There's a lot of complications there, and he never really talks about his service, but once in a while he'll just come out of the blue with something and start saying something about one of his tours or something like that. And he just, in a offhand way, and of course, you know, your military family too, but he'll just talk about some of these things they had to do in Vietnam to survive, in a matter of fact way that, number one, you can't believe that, and then number two, that he can say it with so much calmness, and it just really helps you understand his illness, how he's had to compartmentalize and everything. And anyway, breaks my heart that the world might lose John, because he's really become a good friend of mine.
Yeah, I hear you.
This is Megan. Oh, another military one. Of course, you know already, I've got a very soft spot for veterans. Mother of 5, ages 3 to 15. She's raised her family in this tiny little townhome for almost 13 years now. Husband Jake did 3 tours in Iraq. Each time he left her pregnant, and she's really kind of raised all the kids all by herself. Each tour, the PTSD got worse and worse until Jake was finally committed a couple months ago, stripped of his rights and stewardships and everything. And it's been extremely difficult for the family. You can imagine you've seen this kind of things, and yet her kids are still amazing kids. They race mountain bikes with their dad when he can do that, and she still carries the load all by herself. She still serves her community and her church, and yet her life is still full of incredible struggles. And you can see she dresses still in happy colors and wears a smile on her face. This particular image she picked, I kind of told her about my project and said, it's a beautiful struggle. I take pictures of these struggling plants, and she says, this flower's not a struggling plant. This flower's badass, and it just it gives you a sense to how she the world.
Yeah.
She's strong because she's identifying with this flower, and though she can't say it out loud, she really is saying that she's badass. Anyway, amazing individual. Amazing.
How many of these have you done so far? How many are in the book already?
Well, I've shot about 12, but hang on one second.
Sure.
Sorry, the UPS FedEx guy just showed up. Let me just quick sign.
That's okay.
We're coming all the way. Look at the FedEx ground on what the express. The last name is what? Parsons. Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
Sorry about that. So I've shot about 20, but not all of them have worked out so far. These are just the ones that I feel are keepers for the book once we get the layout figured out. So this one, same thing. Everything in the environment was very important for the image, to the for sale sign in front of her condo that they're losing because Jake lost his job, to the storm clouds for the change that's coming. And just over her right shoulder, you can see a crabapple tree blossoming anyway. And so, again, just these horrible stories of pain and suffering and people getting through it anyway.
Yeah.
Let's see, that's the last one.
Okay. So a couple of things about it in general. I actually really like the page before this where we see the image of the tree on the separate. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see this book laid out similar to this, where it would have whichever picture is stronger. I think it'll vary. So I think there'll be somewhere like the main image that takes up the whole page will be the image of the person and the print. And then others that'll be like this, where the print will be bigger and the person will actually be smaller with the story. But I like the idea of having the dichotomy so that you can appreciate the art that they chose as well. Because some of the pictures are a little further back and you can't really see what it is that they're picking and identifying with.
I agree.
So I would really love to see that, even if it doesn't show up on the same page. Like if we go back to the first image, we have them taking up the whole page and then the story. I'm totally okay with that if the next page is like a two-page spread that goes all the way across of the image she picked.
That's my feeling as well. I really want people to appreciate the detail of the images they picked, because that really is giving us a clue to their own struggle. That's the whole point of the project.
And I love the idea of you telling their story, but I also think it's really powerful with the young woman we were just talking about, that she said, that's not a struggling plan, it's badass. Like I would love to have the image of them with the art and their story that's being told. And then on the next page, the image of the art with what they said about the art or why it spoke to them, or what they identify with this one. Like out of all these images, why this one? Because it sort of is like an ink blot test almost in a different form.
Yes. Yeah. I agree.
So I like that idea a lot. I think that this is a really, really good project that has a lot of potential.
And sadly, you're pointing out some of the things I'm onto already. When I started down this road, I really thought this would be a project I could wrap up in a couple months. but I
Yeah.
really expect to spend 6, 8, maybe even 10 months on this project to get it right.
I would, well, okay, so a couple of questions first, because your work is soaring from even when you came in, and I thought that you had a lot of talent and a good hand coming in, but I think that you've really centered in on what you're shooting and your style. I'm getting a lot better at picking out which images are yours before I see your name attached to them, which is good. I'm always looking for that. And I think that you are very much project oriented. So where
Yes.
other people find a genre or find something they love to shoot, whether that's macro or portraits or whatever, yours have to have a higher calling to them. Everything that I've seen you work on, every critique we've had, you have something greater going on. So for you, art is how you're reaching the world, which I love. I would like to see you see this project through. So when we're done and we're off this call, I'm going to graduate you from Sphere 1, which you absolutely have the right to go through and see the other masters that are at Sphere 2 and see if any of them suit. But if you stay with me, I'm telling you right now, I would like to build your entire Sphere 2 off this project. And I have a couple of other people in Sphere 2 that are working on other book projects as well that I think will be really helpful for you to go back and forth and see what they're doing, and some of the conversations we've already had that'll help you cover a lot of ground. Because I do think finding these people and creating these images and finding these stories will be time consuming, but I think that some of the other people that are doing book projects will help close the gap between where you are in completion as far as the actual production value of it.
Yes, I agree. I agree. This is just one of those projects that I can't turn it loose no matter what. It's just one of those things where even at my school, I decided to make this my thesis work, and started the review process with them again on it. And they were going down the road of, maybe they didn't like this project. And I said, look, just stop. Here's the deal. I'm doing this project. You can either be on board and help me or get out of my way. I'm doing this project.
Well, I love this. Whether it's thesis or not, I definitely think it's your project and it's something that needs to be done. So
thank you.
You can tell them I overruled them.
Thank you. It's what's in my soul.
Okay, so let's talk about the project anymore. What do you see as far as completion? Like, do you have a certain number of images in mind, or, like there's definitely a lot of veterans coming through, but then you have the little girl who is, dealing with the hearing loss and being abandoned, which is almost a different genre. So if this is what's in your soul, you also have the option to make this sort of an anthology where, the one book could be Beauty in the Struggle with PTSD, and the other one could be Beauty in the Struggle with broken homes or childhood, or, like you could have subset categories where they're collections of images. This could be an ongoing thing for the next 20 years that you work on.
And there's no question this is going to consume the rest of my life. Okay. So my immediate vision for it is I want the first iteration of the book, volume 1, as you will, to be probably 24 to 36 stories that are just top-notch pictures. Everything visually came out right. It was the right story. And I want variety from child abuse to cancer to a rape victim. I want a big variety of stuff instead of just keyed in on veterans that I seem to collect along the way. And I want to make sure that it's representative of several demographics. When I do my travel, in the big picture, it's going to have worldwide struggles. When I travel back to Dominican or to Haiti or Mexico, I'm going to try to do chapters, as it were, of each of these places I visit. It will be my life's work. This is what I'll work on the rest of my life. And whether it's commercially viable or not doesn't matter. It's something I have to do because it's a message the world needs to hear, and it's a message I have to say, whatever the cost. So the first version of the book, 24 to 36 images, variety of people, male, female, variety of struggle from, I've tried to avoid doing some of the obvious ones first, wheelchairs, prosthetics, etc. I wanted to get some of the more abstract stuff out of the way, but even schizophrenia and all these things people struggle with but still wake up anyway. And one of the hardest ones that I'm going to have to do is dementia, because I've had people close to me suffering from dementia, and it's just such a horrible, horrible disease. And that one's going to really emotionally tug at me and a lot of people who are living through that. There's almost no worse illness for a loved one. And so dementia is going to be in there. And then I've already got the closing image for the book figured out, but I'll have to tell you that one off the record.
Okay. Okay. Now, as far as sharing this, are you looking to sell it? Are you looking to mass produce? Like, are we putting it on bookshelves in every major store, or are you looking to do it as a small sub-project? Like, what's the vision for it?
So there's definitely going to be a limited edition print copy. And the trouble is, all the commercial printers typically limit a book to 11 by 14, and this really needs to be a bigger lap book, 24 by 24-ish, leather bound, hand sewn, you know, really nice, fine art.
Why so big?
Two reasons. See it, and you know, I love big prints. That's what I do everything. But the more I worked on this project, the more I want people to hold it in their hands, because people like you and I, we're still old enough that we remember what a family album was, and you'd hold it and you'd flip through the pictures, and there's a special emotion connected with that for us. And you know, the younger generation, that's just escaped them.
I'm all about you doing a print version and having a big one. I don't think that you can go bigger than 11 by 14.
Well, the trouble is, the reason I feel I need to is there's so much detail in the images, and I really want that to come through.
That would be a gallery show, though. The book, you can't have a book that has that kind of quality in the paper, you know, the paperweight that you're using and the kind of size that you're talking about. And if you're talking about, say, even if we go on the low end of 24 stories, you're looking at probably at least 36 to 48 spreads, which would be almost 100 pages, which is bigger than most of the albums that I do in terms of thickness. So you're talking about having a huge book. And if you're talking about 12 by 24, it's this big. They're not going to be able to hold it on their laps to open it. It's not going to be functional for them to go through. And the printing right. And the printing cost is going to be astronomical. You're talking hundreds upon hundreds of dollars to get that kind of printing done, because of how much ink is on the paper at that point, because books are printed on double-sided.
Right.
So to have that put together, you're talking just let me see, do I have a copy of it here? Hang on a sec. You can turn the screen share off now too, but this one is 11 by 13. Which is already big, and it's thin, and it's on thin paper, and this is already 4 pounds by itself. So these cost me, and because they're educational books, I can send them in the US as media mail, but they cost me almost $10 to ship. If you're talking about doing that, you have to think in terms of packaging and shipping. They're going to pay several $100s just to have it shipped to them. Because
good point. Good point.
So I totally understand. I like everything grandiose and size matters. We can make that argument, but in the right context. So I'm all about you having a big book. I think 11 by 14 is plenty for you to get it across, because books aren't about the individual image and the stunning imagery of each individual. It's about the collective emotion that flows through.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So I would definitely, you know, for your cost, for the cost that you would have to charge in order to sell them, even at cost, you know, it's going to be a tough sell, especially if you don't have the reputation preceding you that people will buy it just because it's your name on it.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
So it will be a limited edition print run, and then I'll also do installations, local community art galleries, libraries, whatever, because the project really is, the intended audience is the common man. And let's face it, he's not going to buy a fine art book. Ashley and Nate need this book, and they're not going to be able to buy it, right? So there will be some gallery showings of it, and then I've started a website. The address has been reserved, Your Beautiful Struggle. And so there will be a web presentation too, just so that there's a free option for people to access, because I want it to get to people. And, you know, the smart people are going to buy a limited edition book as well.
Okay. Do you have an idea of what you're thinking of charging for the limited edition and how many you're planning on doing in the limited edition?
I figure the first run we're going to do 500 signed copies. You know, it was a nice book, real leather, not faux leather and whatever. And I'm guessing now that we're back down to 11 by 14 size, we're probably going to have to be in the $300 to $400 range for the cost of the book, so that there's money made from the proceeds to go help these people that I'm finding. That's, you know, that's the other side of this, is we have to be profitable. One of the wealthiest people I know, he says it's good to want to help people and give things away, but first get rich so that you can. And so that's the goal. I have to find a way to make money on the project so the project can continue helping people that struggle. And that'll become a chapter 2 kind of a thing, or a volume 2 kind of thing, is how we're helping people in their struggle.
I think that you have a lot of ideas, and a lot of them are really good and just need a little bit of sanding around the edges and maybe a little bit of different perspective. Because I definitely understand where you're coming from. Like, I'm totally the kind of person that before I did my first book printing process, I would have looked at it and been like, I want like 20 by 36, and would have never thought that that was 5 feet across when I opened it.
Right,
You know?
right.
So there's a couple of little things, and I guess that becomes my next question is, you know, the print quality is important because we're artists, and that matters to you, and you like big prints.
Yeah, this can't be like a Vista print book. It has to be a fine art book.
Okay. How important is it to you in terms of making money for you? And is this something that we're looking at making a viable option? Because you absolutely can make a significant amount of money off of book sales if you structure it properly.
Yeah, absolutely. But my goal is, it'll probably evolve to where it's a 501c3, and I'm going to need to draw a salary because it costs money to go get these pictures and travel and find people, etc. But the goal is, yes, I want to make money, and I want to make enough that I can keep doing the work, but also there's money to help people as part of the work.
Okay.
So yeah, the dollars definitely drives the project.
Are you willing to sacrifice some of your vision for how you would like this presented in order to turn bigger profit?
Probably.
Okay.
To me, the most important thing is the work and the story. You know, there's going to be a free version, and so that satisfies this hunger in my soul that I have to connect this to people.
If you give a free version of a book that you were trying to sell for $300 to $400 a copy, you are going to sell next to no copies.
No. There won't be a free book version, but there will be
No. But if I can go and see all of it online, you'll have a couple of people that you hit the heartstrings, that they lost someone or their military families, you know, that it relates to them on a personal level. But if you would have sold 100 of them, you'll sell 10. That is, if it's available for free in any form, a lot of people won't go buy it. You know, and that's the trade-off too. Like, if it's less expensive as a digital book, I will buy a digital Kindle copy instead of an actual book, unless the book has some serious significance to me, which you'll have. But I would definitely say that you can't release the book for free at the same time that you're trying to sell the book, because you're going to cut your sales in half.
Yeah, agreed.
So maybe what we would do is we would release like 1 copy a month, 1 story a month, or a week, or, you know, like we'll find a time frame, but they wouldn't. Yeah. So that's another way that you can look at for people being able to donate. Like, just because it's digital doesn't mean it should be for free. It didn't take you any less time to go capture these stories, and you giving it away for free isn't helping any of the people. Now, you can give it away for free in the sense that that will help you build your following around the project, because I'm an absolute believer that if you created the first one as a collective of all these different things, and maybe did like 2 to 3 stories in each like genre of struggle that you're coming across. And then the idea was that you were going to do follow-up books where one book was going to focus on just PTSD, and one book was going to focus on just dementia, and one book was going to focus on just, you know, broken homes or kids that are in the system kind of thing. Like whatever your categories are, then that book would essentially become sort of like a junk mail that the grocery store sends that goes, hey, all these things are on sale. It would be like a preview of coming attractions, like a movie trailer kind of thing, that these are all of the things that are coming. So imagine if J.K. Rowling had introduced and given the first chapter of every book that she created in the Harry Potter series, just enough to get you excited and interested in it.
Can you imagine the torture?
Yeah, and while everybody's waiting for it to come out. So it provides a lot of interesting possibilities for you for residual income, because what you can do is you can probably start a Patreon where people can subscribe monthly, and by subscribing, they would get access to these images and these stories before, you know. And then there's the option for because you like big things in print, you know, I would absolutely be looking at a hybrid thing where you could do book signings at a gallery show. That way you could have the big images on the gallery and people can look and be moved by them. You can sell them for $300, $400, $500, $1,000 a piece, something like that, and the proceeds can go. And then you can also sell the books, but I would definitely be looking at a more affordable option. So you have, are you familiar with Kirsty Mitchell?
Mm.
So she's like this fantasy fine art photographer. She does incredible, incredible work. She had the most funded book on Kickstarter. She made over, I think it was like close to $700,000 in the 30 days she had the book up.
Holy cow.
It's the most sold book ever in a crowdsourcing campaign. But she did the work for 5 years before she put the book together. So she had all that time to build her following. She had, you know, 300 and some thousand people following her just on her Facebook page, let alone any other social medium that she's on. So that gave people time to get acquainted, and she would share all the images online. And so people saw all the work and they got excited about the fact that the work was a series and how it strung together. And then from that, when she put it up, she had the book available. Everybody had already seen, you know, all of the images complimentary, but they fell in love with the work as a series. But it's a waiting game then. It's getting enough people that are in love with it that they're like, I have to have this whole collection. You know, so it may be that we work on it, and if you want to release them and do an online version, that the first book is just an online version that you give away. But you give it away with you give it away with the idea of them making a donation. Put out a tip jar for these people. You know, even more if people could bid on the stories that move them. You know,
that's a great idea.
Yeah. So, you know, different people will connect. Like, it's very likely that if you send me a collection of stories, that my heart will break most for one of the military families, because I know what it's like to go through PTSD and how that affects every member of the family, and, you know, and that kind of stuff, you know. But I could also relate to the dementia, and I can relate to being from a broken home. So whatever heartstring that pulls for that person that they connect with and they want to do it, if you had an option on this website you're building where I could buy the book for $300 and 50% of that is going to help these people, and I can make sure that it goes to this person or this family's fund, you know. And, you know, even more if it's tangible. So if like the one girl, you know, has a badass flower and she's sitting in front of her condo for sale, if we were going towards raising money to put her family in a home, there's a ton of military people and non-military people that would donate to that cause. And, you know, we might not buy her a house, but we might give her $5,000 to put towards a down deposit.
Right.
You know,
right.
Same thing. You could go and you could buy lunch and dinner every day for the homeless couple that you were sitting with in the first image. You know, like, that's the kind of thing where you would have a greater effect, because people would be able to affect what they consider worthy of affecting. You know,
makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So I think that would be interesting. We'll call that specific charity.
I love that idea.
Um,
Because, you know, when you donate to the Red Cross, some of those dollars will help somebody somewhere, but when you donate to Ashley's nursing school fund, that'll change lives. You know?
yeah, or like the children that you can adopt in other countries, and you get the picture from them, and they write you once a month, and they become your kid that
Right.
you're sponsoring. You will develop much more of an emotional attachment to the cause and to helping someone if you get to see what you're doing. So absolutely, I don't necessarily, maybe it'll be a book, but it's much more likely that that would be social media and online content for you, where you go, look, we sold 300 books for, you know, for Ashley's cause, and here's where we all went in and built her, you know, her herb garden because she can't tend it anymore. You know,
Right.
like whatever the cause is, or we bought new hearing aids for the little girl, or we did, you know, like whatever the cause is that people could invest in, they're much more likely to invest in that, which is probably going to give you the most emotional pull for a small market. You know,
Good ideas. Good
and
ideas.
then it's a matter of breaking it down too, because people are much more likely to give when they realize how little they have to give. So it's the kind of thing that if we go, oh, we have to raise $1,000 for little Susie to get, you know, her seeing eye dog or whatever, you know, and then people go, oh, well, we're not going to make that. Well, you know, 1,000 people donate $1, it's done.
Exactly.
You know, 500 people donate $2. That's less than a cup of coffee. You know, and it's those kind of you know, symbolism that you put in front of people, and you're like, I'm sorry, did you just say that that's not worth your Starbucks for today? You know,
Exactly.
like it's okay to like, you know, I worked in 501c3s for a while. Like I don't have a problem like putting it in perspective for people. Like, let's just realize how first world you are right now. You know,
Right.
change. It's change. You know, change for change is exactly what it is. Donate a quarter every time I post a new image. You subscribe to my feed and you donate a quarter every time. Every 4 images, you're giving $1, you know, and you post a new story. If you have, you know, 1,000 people that do that, then every 4 images, you're making $4,000, and it's a quarter. What is that to anybody?
Right.
That won't
Yeah,
even buy you a candy bar.
Look at Humans of New York, for example, which is a project I love to follow. And look at the following he has, because people really are concerned in human interest stories.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if they each kicked in a dime. I mean, he's got how many million followers?
Yeah, but he didn't sell anything or charge anything to them. So that's the trade-off. You have 2 ways to go about this. You either create the high-end thing. In hindsight, I did the limited edition book and I sold them at 125. I had enough of a following at a time that I made like $7,000 in the 2 weeks by running the Kickstarter, which was enough to cover the cost of the books, which was all I needed, right? In hindsight, I would have made that book and gave it away for free to everyone, so that more people take it, because more people will always take it when it's free, and they're more inclined to follow when they can follow something they're interested in without requiring any kind of investment on their part. Not just money, but time, energy, effort, you know, guilt trips, like whatever it is. You have to be really careful about the way you go about that. So if you did this project and released all of these images that were going to be the first book, not as a book, but online, and just allowed people to connect and subscribe, you could do that. And you could probably do like each month you could feature a different story, and, you know, get a couple of companies involved, photography companies, local food drives, like the businesses around you. I ran the family readiness group, and we would easily get $2,000 donated in gift certificates from everything from like Outback and Red Lobster to like Kohl's, where they would give it to us as a giveaway for our silent auction for like just the holiday party for the military families. You know, if you got all of them in where it was like, we'll match in kind of thing, you could raise a lot of money without people actually having to be invested. Like if you go to the breast cancer site or the deforestation site, there are companies that commit to donating money every time somebody clicks. So it's a like, you know, so they agree to sponsor up to a certain amount. Like we'll donate $1 for every like essentially, or every person that clicks this in the next 24 hours. And you could do it and people would share it all day long. It would go viral online because it doesn't require anything from them. It's like the ice bucket challenge. Like everybody was dumping freaking buckets of water and ice on their head and taking videos of it and laughing. The idea behind that challenge was that you dumped the bucket of ice on your head or you donated $100. Everybody wanted to dump the bucket of ice on their head. One, because they didn't want to spend $100, and two, because it was much more fun to tag your friends and go, here, dump a bucket of ice water on your head so I can watch you do it, than it was to go, here, go donate money to this cause. Oh, I lost him. So we'll wait for him to hop back in, or he can just listen if he has a bad connection. But that's definitely something that I would be looking at different opportunities to do. Like before you start getting like the everyday person to invest, companies love the good PR. There we go.
Sorry, I lost my internet connection, but the phone saved me.
Okay, cool. So I definitely think we could look at some strategies for that, which will be fun because I haven't gotten to pull in any of my nonprofit expertise on a project yet, which I had a feeling if it was going to be for anyone, it'd be for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
This will be a fun journey. I agree that building the network's more important than building the fine art book.
I think it could be both. But I think
but the network's going to be where the value really is.
I think you could probably spend the rest of 2016 working on the project to have enough material for the book. Because that's one thing, like you had what, like 5 or 6 that you showed me just now. If you're looking to do 24 to 36, whatever time that took you, unless you're planning on devoting more time, it would be easy to say that it will take you several months. Like even at 36, that's 3 images a month, 3 stories that you have to find and tell.
Right. Which means really I have to be finding 12 a month so that I have 3 that are real winners visually.
Yeah. I would definitely look into starting your 501c3 now. And it's only a couple $100 to incorporate and put that all together, and you can write that off at the end of the year too. But then everything that you're doing right now is a write-off. Your gas money is a write-off, and the prints that you're getting done for the project are a write-off, and your book expenses will all be a write-off, you know, and it'll all be untaxable on a lot of the income that you're making off of it too. And this is absolutely a 501c3 qualified project. So especially if this is your thing and you have found it and your passion has led you to your purpose and you're going to do this the next 20 years, set it up right now, you know, because you can spend a minimal amount to incorporate it as a 501c3 and set it up in order to save you a lot of time and energy. Saying that you're 501c3 will also be really beneficial, because then if you go to any companies and get anything donated, because if we're talking about homeless people that are saying anything helps, please help feed me, you can go to a grocery store and have them donate $100 worth of food. It doesn't have to be cash, and you can go feed them.
And
you know,
write it off too.
Same thing, like, you know, toy stores, like for the little girl with the hearing aids, you know, or children's clothing stores or things. Like, just because her parents abandoned her doesn't mean the rest of the world is going to. You know, she could have a lot of new lovely things to play with, you know, and for kids it's so easy. Like, you know, you buy them a bike and they play with the box that the bike came in, you know, but those would be amazing follow-up images for people to see, you know. And with the 501c3, you'll have all of those companies being able to write off anything that they're giving you, which is helping them on their taxes as well, which is what's in it for them, along with the feel-good vibe and the, you know, that your company's being shared, because you could look into major companies as being sponsors for these people. So maybe, you know, Giant Foods, you know, sponsors your homeless couple and donates food for a year, and people can go into the local store and just buy something for them, and you go every week and pick it up.
It's a great idea.
You know, and every week they can see them, you know, going back and forth, or a new pair of sneakers, or, you know, a winter coat, or, you know, whatever it is. You know, we can find like all kinds of things. You might be able to find a hotel that would sponsor and give them a bed for the night and a shower. You know, like it's
That'd be
really,
huge.
yeah,
That'd be huge.
it'd be there's a lot of potential, but the thing is, like, the nice thing about the way that, and kind of the like messed up thing about the way that the 501c3 and the way that it works is that, like, if I could donate, if I was a hotel and you would pay $189 to come rent a room here, it doesn't cost me $189 to rent a room. You know, like, I pay the
Right.
bills anyway. The electricity's on in that room, like, whether you book it or not, kind of thing. Same thing, like, if you donate a print to a silent auction, and you would charge $400 for me to buy that print, but that print costs you $37 to get it printed and matted, you know, you still get to write off the price of $400, even though,
Exactly.
yeah, which is how major companies that are like A-list, you know, Fortune 500 companies and stores that have their things, they donate the value, not the cost of what they're investing, you know, and which is
Correct.
why they don't pay any money in taxes at the end of the year. So,
Correct.
but it works out, you know, like, we like to like snarl about it and be like, you're cheating the system kind of thing. And with major companies, it is that way. But at the same time, you know, if every bit of income that you're making is non-taxable and you're able to pay yourself a salary as a 501c3, where the company making money isn't being taxed and just you are on your personal, then that makes it a lot easier for you to operate on less income that's being made. So as you're
Exactly.
building your following and you're doing this, that makes it really easy for you to get into it as a business sooner and be able to support, you know, the project itself without like digging into your own pockets and putting like your financial well-being in jeopardy.
Right. Right.
So,
So step one is 501c3.
yeah, that would definitely be the benefit. I have tons and tons of stuff to build you a Sphere 2 now. So the way that Sphere 2 works is you'll get an invite to go and join. After you're done here, you can request to level up from 19, and that'll drop you into the Sphere 2 Antechamber, and then I'll send you an invite. And then
Okay.
when you get in there, I'll add you into the chat for Sphere 2 and into the community, so you can go say hi. Sandra is someone that you're going to want to look at because she's been doing a book all of Sphere 2. She's actually in Sphere 3 now, working on the next phase of it. But she'd be someone good to like go search by name and see all of her levels and what she was doing, because I think that'll be really helpful for the printing and publication process for you when you're actually ready to do a book.
Okay.
The first thing that you do is called the wishing well. And it'll be self-explanatory in there, but you go and you put that in. Once you put that in, I'll take that and a whole bunch of notes that I took today, and I will build you a custom sphere where you have individual assignments. So what you're doing is totally different than what anybody else is doing. We also don't necessarily do critique levels where we look at your images, but it's things like, we're working on the book, bring the book in, you know, and let's take a look. So I won't be going, oh, well, if we change the lighting, and like, I won't be critiquing individual images, but I'll be looking at it and saying, you know, we should really consider making this 2 spreads for your artwork so that you get that big feel, even though it's only 11 by 14, you know, or we should change the typeset. And so a lot of them, their critiques are talking about business plans and pricing and marketing and, you know, or other plans, or we're just sitting and riffing off ideas of how we're going to introduce things to the public and build following and stuff like that. So, but it's definitely more individual project based. So I think what I'd like to see is, I would like to see your Sphere 2 reflect getting 501c3 qualified and going through that process, which you're going to, well, you won't, but I will pull some of my hair out for you because that's always fun. I did that before. And getting that set up, I would say getting your website and social media set up for your beautiful struggle. Definitely, if you don't have that yet, go register that everywhere right now, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Even if you're not going to establish presence, have it so somebody else can't piggyback off it. And to make sure nobody else has it already, because the last thing you want is to drive traffic to somebody else.
Right.
And then I think the end goal would be that by level 30, you can present me the full layout of the book, even if we're just offering it in digital format for the first one. I think that's the end goal. That's what I would want to see before I moved you to sphere 3. And then if you wanted to stay another sphere at sphere 3, then I think sphere 3 could be all about how to market and start making income from that and what the next steps would be to build off of that then.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah?
Yep.
Good. I'm excited. This one's going to be
too.
fun. I like it. It's a good project.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Questions, comments, concerns, other things that you wanted to chat about?
No, that's everything.
Okay, cool. Go request to level up. I'll add you into Sphere 2 community and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Jessica.
Okay, bye.
Bye.